Recording in
Hello.
Erev Tov, Rabbi.
Erev Tov, Erev Tov. Okay, we're on Daled Amud Aleph. So we're learning, how do you know that an asay is doicha lo tasay? Tichsiv lo tilbash shatnez. Don't wear shatnez, mixture of wool and linen, but gedilim taselach, but make tzitzis. V'am Rabbi Lazar smuchim min haTorah minayim. The pasuk of lo tilbash shatnez is right next to gedilim taselach. So they darshan smuchim, and they permit wearing klayim b'tzitzis. So obviously the Torah allows and shows it that an asay is doicha lo tasay. And where do we see that you can learn smuchim? Shenemar smuchim la'ad la'olam asuim be'emes v'yashar. It's a pasuk in Tehillim, which says that smuchim will be forever, straight and true. A woman, Reuven dies, and the woman falls to Shimon. The woman is the Yevama, and she falls to Shimon, and Shimon happens to be a mukashchin. He's full of boils. We don't force her to do yibum. It's disgusting for her. 319. So that's already okay. Okay. It'll go lower because I just took the.
Does that apply to anything the woman is discussing to her? Just because of this example, mukashchin, but if the woman just doesn't want to marry him, she doesn't have to, right? On the Yevama, or does she have to do it if she has no good reason? Let's say she knows him.
We don't force her. Absolutely.
Okay.
I love and I tell her suba, so she gets the chlitza and she gets the suba.
Okay. Yeah.
Shenemar lo yisach some shore, but you show, for example, an ox who's threshing the wheat. So if you muzzle him, it's very uncomfortable for him because he wants to eat. It's right next to the pasuk that talks about yibum. So just like we don't force the ox to be mitztayer, we don't force a woman to be mitztayer. There is a debate in the rest of the Torah whether you darshan smuchim. However, b'sefer Mishnah Torah, darish. Everybody in Sefer Dvorim is darshan smuchim. And we show the Rabbi Yehuda b'Amaloi darish. Rabbi Yehuda in the regular Torah does not darshan smuchim, but the Mishnah Torah darish. Where do we see that in the rest of the Torah doesn't darshan smuchim? The Tanya. Benazai oimer. Nemar mechashefa lo sechayeh. You cannot keep a witch alive. But it doesn't say how you kill her. V'nemar kol shochev im behema mot yumad. Whoever has relations with an animal is put to death. Samchu inyan lo. So the mechashefa is samuch to that. Loimar. Ma shochev im behema beskila. If you live with an animal, you get skila. That we learn out from Vayikra, Perchaf, Posuk Ted Zayin. Af, the Chashefa Dina Beskila. So the Chachamim learn Smuchim, but Amr lo Rabbi Yehuda v'chim Nesha Samchu Inyan lo Notzi Zel Skila. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't agree. The Chashefa lo Sechayeh is in Shmos. And Kol Shochevim Beima is also in Shmos. But Rabbi Yehuda, you see, outside of Mishnah Torah, doesn't hold of Smuchim. And because you're darshaning Smuchim, you're going to take this person out and kill him with Skila? Ella, says Rav Yehuda, Oiv Yedoini, there's a kishuv called Oiv Yedoini. Oiv is when you ask a question and the person hears a voice coming from his armpit. The Yedoini is when you put a bone in the mouth and some kind of auricular prediction is made. Those of us learn in Nach, in the Shmuel, Perek Chavtes or Perek Lamed, we had the Balas Oiv waking up the spirit of Shmuel to give a prophecy to Shaul HaMelech. But anyways, Rav Yehuda says, Oiv Yodoni Bechla Mechashefim Hayu. We already say Mechashefa Lo Sechaya. Why would Oiv Yodoni taken out in their own pasuk to tell me the din? It's an example of Kol Dover Shaya Bechlal, the Yatzim and Aklal Lamed. Lo Lamed Alatzmo Yotza, Lamed Al Klal Kulo Yotza. It's something that we say in Shachris and Rabbi Shmuel Omer. So this is the example. Ma Oiv Yedoine B'skilav Mechashefa B'skilav. So, Uve Mishnah Torah Minolan de Dorish. So that's not a limud from Smuchim. That's a limud from this Shahaya Bechlav, the Yotzim Naklal. Okay, so you prove to me that Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold of Smuchin the rest of the Torah. The Mishnah Torah Minolan de Dorish. How do you see that in Sefer Dvorim he does darshan? This not. No say Adam anusas aviv umefutas aviv. Person cannot marry or have relations with his father's wife, with certainly his mother, but we're talking about even when it's not his mother, when the father brings in a stepwife and has a son, so that's already Eshes Av. What about if the father raped a woman or seduced a woman but didn't marry her? Or anusas pnoi umafutas pnoi. You're not to live with your daughter-in-law, but that's if your son got married to her. If your son raped a woman or seduced a woman, this Mishnah says you're allowed to marry her. You're allowed to marry if the father raped someone or seduced somebody, or if the son, you can marry the son's woman that he raped. Rabbi Yehuda Oiser Banusas Aviv. Rabbi Yehuda says that if a father raped a woman, you'd remain prohibited. And Mefutas Aviv. And if he seduced her. My time at Rabbi Yehuda. Why? Dichsiv, it says in Dvorim Chav Gimel, Lo yikach ishes eshes aviv. Don't marry your father's wife. V'lo yigala knaf aviv. Now, what is this knaf aviv? Knaf shero aviv lo yigala. That even if the father just had relations with the woman, it's prohibited to you. Umimai de banu saksiv. How do you know it's talking about raping? Mi ilav yedekra. From the pasuk that is right above it, Dichsiv v'nasana isha shochev ima lavia nara chamishim kasev. A man rapes a nara, he has to marry her and give the father 50 shkolim. Immediately next to that, the samech lei, it says lo yikach isha seishes aviv. So Rabbi Yehuda's dorish smuchin here, that it talks about rape, just like what it says the case of the Avia Nara is a case of rape. So here as Knaf Aviv means a woman that he raped. The Rabbanon who don't hold like Rabbi Yehuda, who say it's permitted, no say Adamanusas Aviv Futas Aviv. It's not an Isser. They don't learn Smuchin. So they say, yeah, they learn Smuchin, but you have the Samech like Kedekamed. But it's not directly connected. There's a pasuk intervening. Hashta de lo samech le desiv lo yikach isha seishes avi bein tayin. B'shomer siyavim akasu medaber. That pasuk is talking about, let's say the father had a brother, your uncle, and that guy died without children, and the father is waiting to do yibum, that's not nesuyin yet, but that's enough of a connection, just being a shomeres yovim to the father, that's considered knaf aviv. That's what's prohibited on the son. Now, you're already not allowed to live with your uncle's wife. That's doi doi. So why do I need another isser? Laver laver shtei lavin. In Echanami, if he lived with that woman, he'd be over two lavin. One is lo yikach knaf aviv, and one is doidoso, his aunt. Now, so we proved that Rabbi Yehuda does not darshan smuchin in the rest of the Torah, but in Dvarim he does. So if a Mishnah Torah my time at the Dorish, why does he darshan? It's plain like day from the Indian. It's free and clear and is available to use for the learning. Because if you did not want to teach me from smichos aparshios, let it have been written in the parsha of the arayos. In Vayikra, since it was not written there, and it was written here, it must have been put here to darshan smuchin. It's free and clear. It should just say a person should not marry the wife of his father. So lo yigala knaf aviv lamali. What would have been the purpose of that pasuk? Shmami no lafnuyi, to say that it's free to darshan smuchin. Gabi tzitzis nabi. Why do we learn smuchim by tzitzis? Again, we have the parsha of Laman Yirbu Yemechem Uvnei Vnechem and Parshas, end of Parshas Koirach, or the end of Parshas Shlach. Why was it written here? Must be because of smuchim, to say that you can put it on if it's shatnez. It says climb, you should not put on top of you. Then why did the Torah have to write lo tilbash shatnez? Lamali. Shmami olafnui, that to be learned besmichus to tzitzis. So the Gemara says no. Hani mitzrach tzrichi. Both of these psukim, lo tilbash shatnez and beged kilayim shatnez lo yale alecha, they both are needed. Because don't put the shatnez on your back. The sellers of garments used to put a stick in their neck, between their shirt, and they would put these garments as a showpiece. And they would walk around with it. So maybe any kamah would be usher, because it's got to be dumi television is bad. No, it's got to be like wearing clothing that warms you. Because I would have thought only wearing clothing of shatnez, because there's a lot of anah. Aval halal lo, but maybe you're allowed to do halal because Rachmana lo yaleh alech. Anyhow, so you need both psukim. And the Shulchan Aruch says they're allowed to put it on the way they normally put it on, as long as they're not having kavanat avana from sun or rain. But if you're at sanua, you just do it with a stick. Now, but to put on,
would you be allowed to go in a store and try
to wear a beged kloim in a regular way, where you'd say I'm not going to have kavana to benefit from it? We don't allow that.
How about, can you go in a store and put
Yesh
a
matir.
jacket on?
Yesh
Put
matir.
it,
The
can you go
Rambam,
to,
the Rambam says no. The Ramos says yes, according to the Rosh.
hmm,
Yesh matirim, just to try it on.
yeah, okay.
So, im kein lichtov rachman lo b'shatnes, semru pishtim lamali. The Torah could have just said don't wood shatnes. Why do you have to add wool and linen? Michti. Let's see. Kosovach beged climb shatnes lo yaleh. Don't put any climb on you. The Torah is very shmal oil of an ember, but Torah stam begodim. It says beged. And in one of the begodim it details, it says wool and linen. I've called semru pishtim. So whenever you have semru pishtim, it's kloyim. Only that's kloyim. So it's semru pishtim because of one alamali. Here again, when it says beged pishtim with semru pishtim, what do you need it for? Shma min alaf nuyi. Maybe for smichas. But the Gemara says, no, akati yitzrich, we need it. Only putting it on like a moicher ksus, the loy nafesh hana, where there's not a lot of benefit. Maybe it's not just wool and linen, but any combination of cloth. The Torah should have been silent in both places and learn Shaddis from Allah. The Torah very Shmuel. The reason why we say Tzemer Upishtim because it wrote it. Allah Vachi climbed at tzitzis Havamina dos Rachmana. We would have thought that climbing by tzitzis would be Aser. They already said you should put it on the corners of your garment. V'tanat very Shmuel. Kol begodim Tzemer Upishtim heim. It means putting on tzitzis if the beged is wool and the tchelis is linen. And yet Amar Rachman Ovid le tchelis. Tchelis amrahu. And the tchelis is wool and the beged is linen. When we might the tchelis amrahu, how do you know that tchelis is amrahu? Mideshesh kitna, tchelis amrahu. It says by the big day kahuna, shesh is pishtim. So tcheles is certainly wool. So the Gemara says itzrich. We still need the limud. Sal kedai dechamina kederava derava rami. Ksiv haknaf, the corner min knaf. Maybe we're talking about it has to be the same garment as the corner. Ksiv tzemer upishtim haketzad. Tzemer upishtim poitrim bei b'minam bei shlo b'minam. The din is wool and linen tzitzis pater the garment, whether the garment is wool or linen or whether it's any other garment. Shar meaning, but let's say silk or some other textile. A biminon poetry. If the garment is made out of silk, then the tzitzis of silk are pater. But a tzitzis of silk will not a cotton garment. Shaloi b'minan ain poetry. Freighting more about Tanya less later, Rav, we said we don't hold like Rava Yitzrich. Still, we need the din. Sal kedach mina ki daike de Rava haknaf min knaf. V'achi kam rachmana ovid leit semer letzemer pishtim lepishtim. Maybe for wool you make wool tzitzis, for linen you make linen. V'chiavida semer letzemer tzave. You should dye it blue. Aval tzemer lepishtim upishtim letzemer lo. But maybe if you have two different types of textile, wool for linen or linen for wool lo, maybe you would have thought you don't have to paint it blue. Because no matter what, even if you're using wood for linen, linen for wool, you're going to need to be tzaveh, and you'll be yotzei tzitzis. Okay, we'll stop here. Tomorrow we'll learn at 7:30, God willing.
Sure.